I was living in California, and then she moved to San Diego. She claims it's not to be with me, but she just randomly moved across the entire country to be 10 miles away from my house. The truth is, when we first started dating, a lot of my friends back home were making fun of me for starting my business and my Instagram stories. I have to. This is important for the storyline.
That's not how we met.
It is.
Lauren, turn the lights on. I can't push my teeth in the dark.
What's going on, guys? Ravi Abuvala here with my beautiful What's going on, guys? Ravi Abuvala here with my beautiful girlfriend, Lauren, and we are in Canary Islands. We're in actually Tenerife in Spain. It's right off the coast of West Africa. And this video is going to be really interesting. It's going to be something a little bit different than what I usually do. This may be the first time that you are meeting her, as I don't do a lot of videos with her on there. And one of the things I get asked the most, so I have clients of mine that pay me literally $50,000 to $100,000 a year, and we meet 3 times a year. And every single time we meet, without fail, the number one question I get and the number one thing we talk about is relationships. Relationships with parents, relationships with friends, relationships with employees, but most importantly, relationships with girlfriends, wives, husbands, boyfriends, whatever else it is. So for the first time ever, we are going to do a Q&A here. So if you guys aren't following me on Instagram, I recommend you guys go there. It's at Ravi Abuvala, and I put up a story the other day where I said, hey, if we did a Q&A, what would you guys want to learn, or what kind of questions would you guys want to ask? And we had like over 80 or 90 questions that were submitted, and for the sake of this video, I'm just going to randomly choose probably 10 to 15 of them. Now, the cool thing about this is that literally neither of us have seen these questions. So this is the first time I'm pulling them up. I've not read any of them. Most likely because my parents and her parents will be watching this video. We won't be getting into anything too dirty, but I know there's a lot of really good questions that a lot of people do want answers to. So let's just dive right into it. So number one, how does your relationship work with your work schedule? How do you find time for her? So I think that's a pretty good question, and that's honestly one of the ones that I get all the times at the mastermind. And the truth is, when we first started dating, one of the first things I told her was, and this is, I always get laughs whenever I say that, is that she's number 3 in my life. So it's actually number 1 is me, number 2 is my business, and number 3 is her. And that's not something that's necessarily a bad thing. And I've actually said that to other women that I've dated, and everybody says, oh yeah, that's a good idea, or yeah, I'm all aboard with it. But then when it comes time to me be putting in 14, 16 hour days, missing weekends, whatever else it is, they are, shocked or hurt or whatever else it is. And Lauren is the first one that I've ever met that's actually really, really supported me in my dreams. If I have to cancel dinner or stay late, and instead of complaining, she'll come over and see if there's anything that she can do to help me. So I think communication is probably the first thing that I'll say, and I'll let her say a little thing about it as well. But just being able to communicate openly at the very beginning of a relationship, or even just at any point in the relationship, sitting down and saying, these are the priorities. And I told her that it's not always going to be in that order for the priorities in life, but in my company's scheduling systems, we really have something really great, and I really do believe in something like momentum, and I don't want to slow it down doing something that could maybe slow it down, I should say. So I guess that's the main thing behind it. The other thing I'll also add on top of that as well is that when it comes to relationships, when you're in the business as well, I think it's important for the other person to actually have something that they're doing. And so if you're finding somebody, you're looking to find somebody, and that other person just spends their time and their days literally attached to you, attached to the hip, like afraid to spend any time alone, whatever else it is, it could make it a little bit awkward or a little bit sticky when you're trying to have alone time to work on your business. And one of the cool things about Lauren is she has her own social media marketing agency. She actually has a few clients with it as well, and she spends a lot of time alone. So I think that makes it easy for us to have separate time without actually hurting the relationship. But do you want to add anything to that? Did I not say something?
I would say, yeah, like what you said, I think setting the boundaries from the very beginning of like when I first started dating, I knew that business came first. So I, 1, am good at spending time alone, so I think that helps. And 2, I knew I was going into a relationship with someone who prioritized work. So you making time for me is easy, because when our time together is good, because I'm not you spent too much time working, I'm not nagging you. We're able to enjoy that time together.
I agree.
Yeah.
Awesome. So that's pretty much the first question. Let's dive into the second one here. Number 2 is, how did you guys meet? Actually, there's 3 questions around that, how we met. Do you want to talk about how we met, or do you want me to talk about it?
I'll say it.
Okay, go ahead.
We met when I was living in Breckenridge, and he came on a trip with some guy friends who we had a mutual friend, and that was the first time we ever met. His story from you probably should have said it. But that's how we met, and we turned out we're from the same hometown. He knew my parents for years, and I knew his older brother really well. And when I moved back home, we were both dating other people, and then that's just like kind of how the story progressed. We just like stayed friends. But yeah.
I pretty much, what she's not mentioning is a few things. Is that number one, when I first met her, she actually taught me how to snowboard, and we were snowboarding on the mountains in Breckenridge, Colorado. And I remember at one, when you're all snowboarding, you're all bundled up with everything. And I remember at one point, she took her goggles off of her face and put it on her helmet, and I was like, she has the most beautiful eyes of anybody I've literally ever seen in my entire life. But I was too nervous to tell her at the time. And then just when she says we remain friends, what that really means is that I continued to hit on her for like 2 to 3 years while she just continued to swat me away until the time became right for us to start talking to each other. And also, a few things so we can set the record straight. Before we actually started dating and I started, this is a good lesson for anybody out here that are starting their business online. A lot of my friends back home were making fun of me for starting my business and my Instagram stories. I have to. This is important for the storyline.
That's not how we met.
It is, but it's important. It's important. And people were making fun of me for my Instagram stories and like the where I was going, the direction that I was going in my life. And I would go to the local bar in my area, and she would be making fun of me for my Instagram stories about all the inspirational stuff that I did, the motivational stuff, the business stuff that I did. And I always like to tell everybody that because now she gets to enjoy all of the fruits of my labor. So anyway, and one of the questions I get all the time is actually, how do you meet somebody significant like that, right? Like, how do you find somebody to either live with, or a girlfriend, or a roommate, or a friend, or a business partner? And for me, the number one way that I recommend doing it is like joining masterminds or getting around areas of people that are doing really similar stuff. The way that we met was a little bit like serendipitous. I wouldn't like try to bet on that to happen. But I was talking to a few of my clients yesterday, and they said that for some of their significant others, they weren't really planning on it happening. So one of the best recommendations I have for people to watch this video is focus on building yourself and creating yourself into the best version of yourself as possible. And then the right person will attract themselves to you. I cannot stress that enough. If you are going out and hunting that person and you're going out in clubs or bars or whatever else it is, you're most likely going to get that level, that caliber of a person. So just remember that. The next question is, what is your most aggravating or annoying trait that she tolerates? That is a good question. That's actually from Indira, so shout out to Indira on there. So what is my most aggravating or annoying trait that you tolerate?
I can't think of anything.
Come on, they're not going to believe that.
Off the top of my head, I like really can't. If anything, I would say you're...
She's never told me this, so this might be the first time.
No, I think I told you this. I would say your like particularness about sleep. That's like the only thing. Like if he's like on his computer at night and he like has poor sleep the next morning, and he wakes up and he's like, oh, that was such a horrible. It's because I was on my computer at 2 a.m. like for 2 hours. Like that's the only thing. Like I think that you're very like sleep. That's the only thing.
Conscious, yeah.
I just think there's sometimes like he might be stressed, but he blames it on the computer. Like I think that's the only thing.
I think if you guys have watched some of my other videos, I talk about the feedback loop in life, and I talk about how like every single day for me in the morning, I write down things that I did yesterday and how that's affected that day or even the day that I'm writing it. And so one of the things I'll do is like I am so efficient with my sleep, and I have another video on my morning routine I recommend you guys check out. We'll put it in the description down below. But I'm so efficient with my sleep that I know whenever it's like, I go to bed about 9:30 every single night. And I know that like if it's at 9 o'clock and I'm still on my computer, I know my sleep will be bad.
Yeah, like I'll be brushing my teeth and I have the lights on. You're like, Lauren, turn the lights on. I can't brush my teeth in the dark.
All right, well, that's good to know. Next question is, relationship strains of you being open with how much money you make. Was it hard for her to know that? No, I don't think so. I'm obviously really open with how much money I make, not just because it's like I'm trying to brag to anybody, but because I think that money is something that we should be talking more about. I grew up in a family and in a community and in an environment where like the money was just like very like taboo to talk about. And I'm very against that. And I believe in we've learned a lot and talked a lot about financial education and shared finances. And actually, I helped her invest a lot of stuff as well, set up automatic investing. And so I think it's really smart to be talking about money. There are some times where I think she just goes I think you say sometimes that you've been around people like me who make this amount of money that it's just become normalized. So it's a little bit different for you, but we've never really had an issue.
Yeah, like someone says, "Oh, it's $10,000." I'm like, "Oh, okay." So you only need to I calculate in my head, you need to only sell this $1,000 of 10 items. Like, oh yeah.
But before you never did that.
But yeah, before I never did that. I was like $10,000 is like, what?
But doesn't that show how it's important it is to get around people that have that mindset, that have that abundance mindset or at that level? Because $10,000.
I don't think your income is ever affected. I don't think it's ever affected our relationship.
I agree. No, I don't think so. I mean, if anything, to be really quite frank with you, I think it's helped our relationship just in the sense of the experiences we've been able to have, the problems we've been able to solve really quickly.
I like listening. Obviously, he doesn't disclose every penny that he makes. I don't know everything that he's doing with his money, but I like it because hearing you talk to your CPA and all of those things, I love it just for knowledge, backhanded. I listen to it.
Yeah, information. Yeah, you've learned a lot from that as well. All right, next question. We'll just do a few more here, guys. And thank you guys for tuning in. If you guys are getting value out of it, comment down below. If you guys want more videos with Lauren with this as well, you want to ask more questions for Lauren, make sure you guys comment down below and we will do another video like this because I have 50 more questions here. Another question that I get is, how do you balance a quality relationship while starting a business as you scale? And the next question right after that is, how do you balance a healthy lifestyle when it comes to work, career, hobbies, and sleep? So I'll kind of combine those both in one question, but essentially what I've noticed is that I hate to say it, but I think if you're trying to start a business, I think it's really hard to be in a relationship, to be really quite honest with you. Unless that person is helping you in that business and is a part of you, and I'm not talking about supporting you in the business, when you're coming home and you have someone to come home to. I'm talking about literally as an employee inside that business helping you out. I think when you're just starting a business, at least in my personal experience, it's really difficult to do. When I first started my company, I didn't even talk to girls for a year and a half. I didn't go on any dates or anything. I just focused solely on the business. And some people say oh, then you could attract somebody who's just there for the money. They don't really love you for who you are. They just love you for the money, which I guess is true. But once again, it goes back to you being the right person and building yourself up, and then you'll attract the right person in your life. So if you do work hard, grind, have a successful business, and then you're going out to places like nightclubs or pool clubs, and then you're finding women there, then they might be there for the money. But obviously that was not the way that we met as well. So I think as far as balance is concerned also, like I said in the very beginning, I have the priorities in my life and I do work really hard, but I have another video, which I'll also link down below, that I talk about work-life harmony, not work-life balance, because work-life balance makes it think that the two can't commingle. You have to have one without the other. And what I'm really proud of myself for doing is building a life that has work-life harmony. So I am here in the Canary Islands in Spain. I just left my brother's wedding where I was the best man at it just a few days ago. Flew over here. We have 16 team members here. And then yesterday I held a mastermind for 23 clients that literally flew 22, 28, 30 hours to meet us here and had an entire day of a mastermind. And my girlfriend was there as well the entire time. So I've built a life that has allowed me to integrate all those things together, and actually took her from working at an in-person job to learning an online skill. And now she has multiple clients doing something similar as well. So do you have anything to add to that as well?
What was the question?
It was pretty much, how do you do the work-life balance in a relationship?
Yeah, I would say that what he said at the very beginning of the starting a business takes a lot of time. You just have to dedicate a lot of time to it. And when you're in even dating Ravi is hard for me because he's okay, I'm done with work. Let's go get dinner. But I go with him because obviously I want to go. But it's hard because I'm I should be working still. So from that perspective, I would say what you said is when you're starting a business, maybe for me, I like the relationship. So if I were single and starting a business, it would be not a priority to be single. But I think that's what's important because it's easier to focus on your business, starting out when you're first starting out.
I agree. Yeah, it's just, I think you can only have one real love when you're starting out. It either has to be business or it has to be somebody else. And I don't want to I'll just say it on my YouTube channel. I think I'm on someone else's YouTube channel. I don't want to half-ass either of those. And I think that in the beginning of a relationship, you have to invest so much time and energy into the relationship. And then in the beginning of the business, you have to invest so much time and energy in the business that I think they are not compatible. And all the time with my high-level clients and scaling initiative, you know, I'm sad to say, but like I think been the cause of a lot of breakups just because they come to me, once again, not just for business advice, but for personal advice, and the person's not really supporting them in their goals. So we'll do 2 more questions here. Second to last one, and I'll let you start this, is how do you both keep the spark alive?
I think I say this all the time. We have excellent communication. We talk like there's a John Gottman. He talks about the bids for affection or bids for connection or something like that. And like if I'm like I had like a really bad day today, Ravi will stop everything and like listen to me for 5 seconds. I don't consume all of his time, but like if either he or I are like, I need this right now, like we drop everything and do it right then and then go back to like what we were doing. Because as much as he prioritizes work, he also prioritizes the relationship. And I think that is what helps keep our spark is like, I can't think.
Okay.
Is like just like, and I always tell him all the time, like, you're so handsome, like I love that shirt on you, like we're always complimenting each other, and like we're always like we're very affectionate with each other, and we are very consistent in our relationship of like when we first started dating, like I tell him, like he tells me all the time, like you're so beautiful, you're so handsome, like, just keeping that spark.
Yeah, I think it's kind of what she said is like the little things. I think that like a lot of things in life, people will wait to like the anniversary or like the one time a year that then you go all out and then you make it a big deal. And it's kind of, you know, I hate to sound like a broken record, but it's kind of like the slight edge when it comes to relationships as well. And sometimes it'll just be like I'm working in my office and she'll be like at the counter working as well in the kitchen. And I'll come by and like I'll just like, you know, compliment her as I'm walking in the kitchen to get my smoothie to go walk back in the office. I mean, it takes like 30 seconds, I just say something to her, I make her day. And I think it's just little things like that accumulated over time. And then obviously we do really incredible things like, you know, traveling. We just spent a week in Italy together, just her and I, which was really incredible also. But, you know, I think the little things make that even better as well. So I guess the way that we speak to keep the spark alive is like just little gestures of affection or love, whether it's actual physical gifts or, you know, a touch or words. I think that's probably it. And then we'll wrap it up with probably one more question here. Let's see here. This is good. So biggest relationship challenges you've worked through and found a solution for. You want to start on that one?
What would you say?
I don't know. If I had to think of biggest relationship challenges that we had to do, a few things come to my mind. Like number one, when she first moved to San Diego, I was living in California, and then she moved to San Diego. She claims it's not to be with me, but she just randomly moved across the entire country to be 10 miles away from my house. Anyway, we won't get into that. And within a few weeks of her moving into San Diego, for reasons I won't get into in this video, I decided to move to Miami. And so our relationship was kind of still a little fresh and new at that point. And I had to have a serious sit-down conversation with her. And I'm not very much of a commitment kind of guy, if you guys haven't been able to notice.
No, you didn't have to sit down conversation with me. I was like, you know, if you went to Miami, I want to move with you. And you were like, really? And then we've never had a
I think that I started the conversation first.
Definitely not.
Okay, so obviously we disagree when it comes to this stuff here, but good relationships have a little bit of disagreement, even if I am right in that situation. So anyway, it's my YouTube channel. So we had to have the conversation about her coming to Miami and what that would look like. And obviously we both value our time, we both value our futures. So I think that was probably one of the biggest challenges we had very early on in our relationship. Another challenge was that when we first started, you know, talking, she lived in Florida and I lived in California. And so, you know, she was flying out to see me once or twice every single month and like trying to keep the relationship alive when we weren't physically together. I think that was an issue. So a long-term relationship, but we just solved that by, you know, a 3-minute FaceTime call as I was laying in bed at nighttime and going to bed. And I think that if there was one more thing I had to say that we had a challenge with, it would be, I guess just sometimes in Miami, I do have work-life harmony with her and she is really supportive, but you know, like unfortunately, for a great example of this, in November of last year, her birthday is November 25th, 1997. That's right, I got it right. It's a little bit of brownie points for me. I've bought her like 150 flights, so I also remember that. But November 25th, and that's also the week of Thanksgiving. And last year for her birthday, unfortunately, I was planning on going back home and spending the time with her, but business had to come first. I had a new product launch that was going on, and I made a deadline for December 1st. And to be honest with you, I procrastinated until the last second. And so I'm a man of my word, and I knew I had to get it done. And unfortunately, that was a great example of when I unfortunately had to choose the business over her in that instance. And that was tough, not because she was upset at all. She was actually as supportive as anybody I could ever imagine in that situation. But I was kind of a little upset at myself that I let it come to that situation. So that was kind of a challenge that I personally had to overcome in the relationship that I think we totally are over now. But that was a great example of me having to put the business first.
Yeah. I don't know. The first thing that comes to my mind is like, I mean, we talked about it like in the beginning of like work, like how you find someone when you're an entrepreneur, of like me going through growing pains of, I think not only moving to Miami and not knowing anyone, but also being by myself a lot. And I hadn't started my social media managing yet. And like, that was definitely like a big thing for us, is me trying to honor his commitment to work and not be a nuisance to him, like always at the house or like always in his office. But so like the growing pains of that, like me kind of navigating a new city in a semi-new relationship, while like that was just like me personally that like affected the relationship that we were able to overcome because of our communication. Like I don't want to say confront, but I came to you with that, and like he listened to me, and we worked it out together.
There you have it, ladies and gentlemen, the Q&A between my beautiful girlfriend and myself. I know one of the questions you guys are probably asking is, why is someone as beautiful as her with me? And it's for the money. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding, everybody. Anyway, hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. If you guys did, please be sure to smash the like button, hit subscribe so you guys can get access to more videos just like this. If you want to ask more questions, if you want to see another video with her in it, if you guys want to do anything else with her and I together, comment down below. And depending on how well this video does, we might just do that. Thank you guys so much for your time. Hopefully you guys got value, and I will see you in the next video.